People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. Now, we know the international break is soon over. The majority of countries will play their third game of this break either today, which is Monday, tomorrow, which is Tuesday, and Wednesday and whatever. And we're firmly back to business in relation into the Premier League. Now, in relation to Arsenal's players out on loan, we knew the international break was going to disrupt a lot of plans and whatnot, but we might as well speak about those who did play, people. Apologies. Now, Osei Tutu didn't play, obviously due to internationals. Neither did Ilev. Ilev would have actually played against TYREECEJOHNJULES. You know, it would have been fun to see Doncaster versus Shrewsbury Town, because it would have our highly rated striker and a player that I'm a big fan of anyways in TYREECEJOHNJULES versus, 25-year-old Ilev, who's been on loan in Poland and Slovakia and now gets a loan in League One and whatnot, and there'd only be one winner in that. It would have been a very interesting game. Neither player played a part in league action, but in the relation to TYREECEJOHNJULES, his goal against a former club of his, Charlton, earlier in the season has been voted goal of the month by Doncaster fans. And already, you go online, you read reports, you hear what the Doncaster fans and the newspapers and the reporters and the relevant parties have to say. Just like with Lincoln and just like myself, it's very hard not to fall in love with TYREECEJOHNJULES from a footballing perspective. He's got it all, but he played no part today. Well, in his game week, there was no part to play. Neither did Ilev. Daniel Ballard was obviously been called up at international level, played no part. Mark McGuinness, who was cup tied in the game against Arsenal and we couldn't play in that, was an unused substitute for Ipswich Town as well. It's difficult to have any real knowledge, admittedly, on the Irish League, people. But Olowu, who's at Cork, apparently, he got some more minutes for his team, and I think it's very tough for a lot of the centre halves on loan to have a long-term future here. So what he's got to do is get what he can out of the senior game, get as much experience, play against as much senior players in the Irish division as he can, and give himself a platform to move on from. Zach Swanson was on the bench for MVV again, just because of the division and what's useful to me. I don't know if he actually played any minutes, but I know he's recovering from injury, and I know at least he was on the bench. So hopefully he's played some minutes. And in fact, if we just type in MVVFC, apologies, 1 second, people. MVV, I really should have done this before because I couldn't. I'm never going to sit here and cap with you lot. Let me see. They lost to Go Ahead Eagles, a team that Daniel Crowley used to be on loan at. I don't see Zach Swan. It's not showed him off the bench. So the 20-year-old has been an unused substitute in that game in the Dutch second division. I know he's working his way back from injury. So not many players got to play. Swanson was an unused substitute. Bowler was an unused substitute. Before I forget, Trey Coyle didn't get to play as well. Osei Tutu and Tyrese for other reasons didn't play. Mark McGuinness was on the bench and not used. Ballard was no relevance in the Blackpool game. So there's not been much football for many people at this level, people. But in relation to some people who did play, Matt Smith, he played in Swindon's defeat, their 1-0 defeat against Wimbledon, if I can remember correctly. For me, I think it's not for any fault of his own, but I think making it at Arsenal would be tough. I want him to break through at Arsenal. I want as much Haaland players as possible. But if you look at it, the club have put all their eggs clearly in the Joe Willock basket. You've seen Josh De Silva, many central midfielders leave because of such. And, Josh is going from strength to strength. So you look at that, you're not going to be ahead of Joe Willock unless a madness happens. El Nene, you're probably not going to be ahead of him. And even if you are, is El Nene someone that's historically at Arsenal played substantial minutes? Is that someone who this season is going to play substantial minutes? We've just brought in Partey. Xhaka is on every name on the team sheet. Arteta names. We've got Ceballos on loan and hopefully get that permanent. We've tried to buy Aura and several others. So, typically like most clubs, the central midfield sort of thing is a bit crowded, to be the least. And what you want to hope from him is, I'm not too sure on the contract length, but he's in League One now. Can you go in the Championship based off this loan spell? Can you put yourself in the shop window so that Swindon or another League One club says, you know what, Arsenal, I know you lot need money and I know we're not the richest, but I'll give you a few bob for Matt Smith. You go off and have your senior career. Or a Championship team that might want to improve might be saying, yo, Matt Smith is doing very well, because in a short period of time he's replicated his form at under 23s level to first team. Now, again, he didn't play first team minutes for Arsenal. You can train as much, but when you're training and whatnot and being in the match days, I have to wonder how much, if any, did that prepare him to go off and do what he's doing, because he's taken to it. You know, I'd be surprised if the Swindon fans don't love him. You know, there was a lovely clip in the game. You know, they lost, but he done one lovely outside of the foot pass, I believe, to the Swindon left back, and it didn't amount to anything. But you don't know, Matt Smith, like Ben Shafe, who's on loan and didn't play for Coventry, very cultured midfielder. Everything you want in an Arsenal midfielder. Matt Smith got a lovely passing range and whatnot. But what is, for me, you know, you can have all the technical ability in the world, and he has that, and you've got to have that definitely in the middle of park, people. But for me, what makes him stand out even more than that is his ability to want to get around the pitch, you know, put himself around. He's a busybody. He puts a lot of tackles in, he gets around. And I believe in the top 4 divisions so far, that's Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2, he's not top, but he's got 16 assists, people. A man said 16 assists be lovely. 16 interceptions, people. So he ranks quite high across the 4 divisions. So that tells you that's a strength of his, and it is quite good. Like I said, he ranks. If I didn't, he ranks 16th for interceptions. So he's done quite well, people. So again, at Swindon, he's showing his passing range. He's showing he'll put himself around and try and use his body to retrieve the team. He's a player that's you could easily fall in love with Matt Smith if he plays for your team. He tries to retrieve the ball. His positioning is good. You know, he's got a good passing range and he's not afraid to do it. And it's nice to see him just going from strength to strength at Swindon. And like I said, the key thing for him at 20 odd years of age, you're putting yourself in the shop window. You're putting yourself in the shop window of Arsenal scouts, the loan manager and whatnot, and reporting back to Arteta. You're trying to convince Premier League team, champion. I'm sure you love Premier League teams, but Championship teams to try to take you on. Why not? You know, in January they might say, Arsenal, would you recall him from Swindon and let him come to the Championship? Depending on the environment he'd step into in the Championship, I can't imagine he wouldn't want to relish testing himself, and I can't imagine Arsenal would say no. Yes, there is something to be said in stability. He started something at Swindon, he needs to finish it. You know, he could go to another team, different formations, all these things that might not hit off for him. But I'm sure he wants to do that. Or put yourself in the window so that Swindon or any League 1 or Championship team, or if above in an ideal world, say, you know what, that Matt Smith fella, you know, Arsenal situation means he's not going to get chances. Let's see if they'll let us take him off their hands on a permanent. So he done well, people. He done well. He's had a promising game even though they lost. Trey Coyle, you know, he started off well at Gillingham and he's still going well, but you know, I think players, they've got a little winning run of form and players have been well, so the manager hasn't been changing too much, so he had to settle for being an unused substitute. Medley was part of the Gillingham team that won 3-1 against Oxford. They scored some good goals. Is it Jordan Graham? I think he signed for them recently. Just from watching Swindon, he's got a good eye in front of goal. They scored some good goals in the 3 goals. The goal they conceded was poor. Now, Medley weren't alone in the error, because I felt the man who ultimately had a part to play could have been marked better. But Medley could have done a lot better. I do feel him and the keeper should have communicated. It's in our box. You know, Medley's watching the ball and waiting for it to bounce, and it's like he's shielding it. For me, you know, the keeper, between Medley and the keeper, one of them has to seize it. Medley's got to either say my ball, which I expected him to do, and what I would like my centre-halves to do. You know, if the keeper's moving iffy, you're a big 6-foot odd man, head it out, get rid, get clear, or smash it out of there, you know, get that clean sheet. It's a mixture of him not reading it and the keeper taking long. You know, he's waited for it, he's tried to shield it, and it's kind of bobbled in, and it is a cheap goal. Excluding that, Medley had a near enough faultless game. He was equal to the tackles. He showed his, you know, his ability to bring it out from the back. He's been in good form since he initially lost his place in the side at Gillingham, and you know, you want him to react. And like I feel, even though they won 3-1 and largely they weren't really tested like that by Gillingham, there's a lot for him to learn. Like the goal they conceded, because that could have been, it could have been 1-1. You know, Gillingham are fighting for their lives to stay in League 1. You know, they need 3 points. It's 1-0, sorry, or it's 1-1. Then, you know, this same incident, which was only a consolation goal, that could be 1-1, that could be 2-1. And that's why I was a big fan of Medley going out on loan and the rest of them, because you immediately learn what you did right and wrong. You might get away with that 23s level. That might cost you a spot in the team. I'm really proud of all our young players for seizing their opportunities and going out there and playing first team football. I've seen promising performances from everybody, even the ones that weren't involved, and I do think they're all doing what they can to have good careers. Obviously, you know, the numbers, it's a numbers game. It's very unlikely any of the names said are going to even get a fair chance at making it at Arsenal, but You know, they've got to just set themselves up in the right way to have a future in the game. And I feel, you know, when you've got good solid base of training like they did coming through Arsenal's academy, and you marry that with some hardcore experience in the men's game, in the professional game, you've put yourselves in a good little basket. Because let's just say Arsenal said, Medley, yo, you're not getting a chance. You know, a League One, a Championship, they might look at Medley and be like, yeah, he's a good ball player, he's got height, boom, boom, boom. You know, he's been in Gillingham, he's got some league experience, he might not be perfect, but come, you know, it's not like he's got some experience to work with. Or if he didn't go out on loan, they might say, oh, what, should we go for Medley? I don't know, you know, we need to stay in the division, or we want to do this, he hasn't got no senior experience, you know, boom, boom, boom. That might go against him. It's sad because it's difficult to get experience, but I feel with gaining experience, a lot of these players are putting themselves in a good position, whether they're going to have a future here or elsewhere. But that's all I wanted to speak about. Hopefully the next time I do this, there's just more things to speak about, people. On that note, it's always a pleasure. DG, I'm out, man.